Hi, Tracy here with Bible Journaling Ministries, and we are going to show you how to sew really awesome ribbons into your Bible. So you're going to get something that looks something pretty neat like this. All right, let's get started. You'll need a sewing machine. The one that I have here is a Quantum XL 1000. This is a old sewing machine. I think I've had it for about 18 years. I'll be using letter A as the foot. You can see it here displayed on my screen, and a straight stitch. I could use a zigzag, or I can do a curve stitch with that same foot, so I won't be changing out my foot. I use black thread with black bobbin thread, and again just a Singer 8011 needle, but you can use any needle as long as it's thin. So if you're ready, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is prep the book before I actually do any sewing on it. So to do that, all I want to do is open up the book and decide which page I'm going to be using. So I'll be using this green one first to get started. And I want to make sure that I don't actually sew on any pages together, because I have actually sewn 2 pages together before, and that's no fun at all and can ruin the book. So don't do that. And basically what I do is I just fold the book in a way that allows me to capture all the pages together, because this is a really flexible spine, so I can capture all my pages together. You can see that I have the cover here. If I turn it over, you can see I have the other pages here. So I'm just going to take my binder and clip it in place. I've got that one pretty good, but I'm trying to move it so I can get that in place. I might need to. There's 2 binder clips right in place. So that just leaves me with the one page that I'm planning on sewing. I also, next to my sewing machine, I have a illustrating Bible box, and what that does is it allows me to place the book down and smoothly sew. Otherwise, I'm having to hold this book while I sew, and that's really hard. So just find something that's kind of like equal or close to equal in size to your sewing machine to allow you just to move it as you sew. I'm going to change the angle so you can see really close up as we start to sew the edge of this page. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a ribbon. This is just a ribbon that I got from Christmas sales, Christmas sales at Michael's, and I'm just going to be adding this ribbon to the edge of this little book here. So I have actually already cut it. I have a little piece here that I'll be attaching to it, and to attach it I'm just going to attach it with a paper clip just to hold it in place. Now I can also use some tape along it, but I don't want the tape to gum up my needle, so I'm not going to use the tape. I'm going to just do it by hand, and we'll see how it goes. So let me change the angle of the camera so that you can see. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just hold this in place with a paper clip, just so it doesn't move around a ton, and I'll have to move the paper clips away before I actually sew over them. Sewing over paper is difficult. It's not as easy as sewing over fabric, but it can be done, and it's loads of fun when you do it. And it can also be frustrating if you don't do it right, so just kind of take your time and prep your pages and be ready to go. So I'm just going to add this paper clip here just to kind of hold it in place so that I don't have to hold it. Now I will let you know that before I started paper sewing, I called my sewing machine dealer and asked him if it was okay if I used my sewing machine for sewing on paper, and he said absolutely, it was fine. Just don't use anything like cardstock or any like chipboard or something like that, because that will ruin it. But things like this type of paper where it's real thin, well, this isn't really thin, but it's not like cardstock or really heavy. It should work just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do just a straight stitch, and I like my stitches to be fat, so whatever your machine likes to do or whatever you like to do, go ahead and do it. I like my stitches to be longer rather than real thin, because if they're real thin, it'll almost be like it goes straight through the paper. So make them as fat as you like. I want my ribbon to be actually coming off the page a little bit so I can see that it's not exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to move it and then put my foot down. I'm going to press her foot down. Okay. And I need to move it here as well, wherever this paper clip is holding it. That way, I want it to kind of hang off of the page. I just think it'd be really cool. So then I'm looking to see where my needle is and where it's going to hit. And I want my needle to hit right in over here. So I need to adjust my page. And I'm going to have to rethread that needle. That sometimes happens. And it's totally okay. I'm just going to quickly rethread it. And what's great about this machine, even as old as it is, it was one of the first machines that I had that allows me to rethread automatically. Of course, now that I'm on camera, it's gonna give me a hard time. Now that I'm on camera. Come on. There we go. It was one of the first machines ever that I had that would actually thread the needle itself. It's amazing. Now I think all of them do, even the cheap ones do, which is great. So I have my settings where I can have my stitches to be a little bit thicker, and I'm just going to go ahead and first press my foot down and give me a couple stitches. And then I'm going to run it back again just to kind of make sure it won't just kind of unravel. I do the same thing whenever I'm sewing. You might be wondering, am I lining things up? I'm not really lining things up. I see where the paper is. I know the paper is going into right about here in my foot. So I don't know the technical terms here. Again, I'm not like the major seamstress. I just basically hem my clothes, and I have made dolls and things like that, but I'm not like the biggest seamstress or the most awesome seamstress. But I just use the foot as a guide, and there's a little notch here, and I can see where my paper is going, and as long as my ribbon is aligned and my paper goes right through that notch, I'll have a straight line. And so now I'm just going to feed it through. Move that paper clip out of the way. I need a couple back stitches to make sure that it stays in place. And then if you want to, if you lift up your foot, you can actually give yourself some extra thread if you want the thread to hang out or hang down. You can do that as well. Just grab some of the extra thread and cut it. And then you can have the thread kind of hang down if you want. So at this point I want to cut this extra ribbon off. So if you wanted to match this, you could get gold thread, but I just use black. It's easier. And this is for me. I'm not giving this away, it's just for me. So I have this really pretty ribbon on the edge. So I just kind of want to show you real closely. When you take your book, and if your book gets a little bit wonky, that's okay. It's going to get wonky in the process of using it, but you can always take your clippy later and just kind of clippy it shut if you want, like if you want to make sure it's shut. But I just love how it's just peeking out of the edge. So I'm going to do a couple more pages like this, and then I'll get back to you. I'll fast forward so you don't have to see this part, because basically it's the same straight stitch. And then I'll give you another quick tip on how to do it, how to do different other items to be sewn in your 100 days of less hustle and more Jesus. So let me go back and do a couple more of these pages, and I'll fast forward through this part. Okay, I have just finished sewing the little gold ribbon to my 100 days of less hustle, more Jesus, and I just think it's so pretty. You can just see how cute it is. And the days I chose, so I did the first day, and then I did day 30, because I think that's a kind of a milestone day. And then I did day 60 as well. And then I did day 90. And then I did the back cover, the back page. So I just love that all of the little frillies are hanging out on the edge here. And I know what day it's marked on. 30, 60, 90, and then 100. So those are like major milestones. When we get there, maybe I'll do a little celebration here. Maybe I'll do some really pretty fun things there when we get to that page. So let's go ahead and talk about another way you can sew into this book. The next thing I want to do is use some of this ribbon. Again, this is old ribbon that I have from Michael's in my stash. You can use anything that you have to just create some little bookmarks at the top for just important days that might be happening along this journey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a day first. So let me just say like the 26th. Let me find that day. I just found it here. It's hard for me to show this to you on camera. But again, I'm going to binder clippy my pages together. And then we can get started. So I just need to clip those together so they don't go flying away, and so that I don't accidentally sew two pages together. Sometimes the clipper is hard to open. I think maybe one will be fine. Sewing on the top is sometimes can be a little challenging, but hopefully it won't be for us today. So let me open up this pack. We can decide which ones we want to use. I think these little dingleberries would look so cute on there somewhere. But let's start with this one, this little pink one. I have to cut the tape off of it to let the ribbon be free. So I don't need a lot because I'm just going to go make a little bookmark off the top. So maybe just like that much is enough. And you can definitely use a staple. You don't have to sew. I just wanted to show you to sew in case you were interested, and that's what this video is about anyways, is about sewing. So I'm going to just go ahead and sew this on the page. So to do that, I'm going to move my box to the back of my sewing machine so I have a place for my book to rest. As it comes flying out the machine. Okay. See how helpful it is to have the Illustrating Bible? Not only does the box make a great gift giving, but it's also a great platform for if you decide to sew on a book. So I just folded my ribbon in half. You can see I just folded it just right in half like that. And you could adjust it, make it look like it's open a little bit. That's fine. If that's what you want to do. Then I place it under my presser foot, just like this. And I press down, and I'm just going to sew a little bit right before it and a little bit right after it. So just like we did with the others, I'm going to hold it with my hand so it doesn't move too much, and I'm just going to go ahead and start the process of sewing it in place. With your back stitching, you don't want to do like a ton of back stitching right in the same hole, because you're just going to make the holes bigger. So just be careful. I do a little bit of back stitching just to secure it, but that's about it. If you want to grab some of the extra string, if you're planning on letting it kind of hang out with you, you can just pull it out so you have it before you cut. And I have automatic cutter, so I can just press it down and it will cut for me, which is nice bonus. Of course, when it works. It didn't work that time. Nice bonus when it works. Okay, so I have the little bookmark there at the top. So if I close my book, you can now see that I have the little bookmark at the top. There's a couple more pages that I want to do, so I'm just going to fast forward through this part now that you know how to do them, and just mark a couple of the other pages so that I have them as special dates that I don't want to forget. So you can see here that I have my little bookmarks for my special days. Now this is not dated, so you have to decide, like, when you start this day, when you start this journey. Let's say if you start this journey on July 1st, then that would be day 1, right? Or if you're following along in a special group, whatever day they're starting on, you could start on too. Or let's say you're starting on, May 26th. May 26th would be day 1. So it's up to you, like, if you're going to mark them on special dates, to make sure that you're counting the number of days until those dates, because it's not a dated planner. It's not like a dated thing. So I wanted to show you just, here's one of them, and show you the back as well, because I don't think I showed you the back. And I can put, cut that or move it around, but I kind of like leaving those in there because it looks like real handmade, right? Here's the back of the other one. Here's that one. And the back, and then you have the pink one and the back there. So that's what it looks like. And you can see if I use stitches that were smaller, you could see that would cut it would be like cutting right through. And then I didn't show you any of the back of these, but you can just see it's a straight stitch. If you don't like this in the back, I like it, but if you don't like it, you can always put some washi tape on it. That's totally fine. And I don't secure mine with any glue, but you can. If you thought maybe it might unravel over time, then you could take some glue to it. But again, you can see that I've done a little bit of a back stitch here, so it really shouldn't unravel. But if it does, just put a little glue there. It's okay. Sorry. There, now you can see it in the camera. Okay. The last one I want to show you is just like a decorative edge. On a journal page. So let's go ahead and pick a date. I have so much here in the front. Let's do one in the back. Oh, this one would be cool, I think. No, that would be cool too. Let's do this one. I'm going to pull that page, right? Not pull it out, but just pull it so it's the only one available. And I'm just going to fold my book in half, essentially. Binder clip it again, like I've been doing. Move my platform, which is my illustrating Bible. Illustrating Bible platform. And get ready to start sewing. Now this is going to be a curve. The one I'm going to use is a curve. If you have a zigzag, you could use a zigzag too. Important to note, though, what I like to do, let's say if I'm doing a zigzag, in fact, I can do a zigzag here just so you can, we won't do a curve, we'll do a zigzag just so you can see. The first thing I like to do is just kind of test it out on a piece of paper. So you can grab any paper that you have. Let's see if I have one nearby. Here's a little piece of paper. And I'm going to turn my machine to zigzag. And what will happen is your machine will move to the end of the zigzag. And where I like to put the edge of the paper right on the end of that zigzag so that it doesn't actually go into the paper. So I just kind of figure out where that needle is going to go and press my paper right up against that edge so I know where it is. And then I try my best to align it. So if there's something I could find on the actual foot itself, like if there was a mark, then I would be able to use it. But there's no mark on this one. Sometimes I'll try to find a mark on this side as well. And so I'm lucky because this page here is real close to the end of this platform here, so I can use this as the guide instead of the foot. So let me just show you what I'm talking about. So I'll just take a piece of paper. I'm going to do the zigzag, and I need to make them as big as I like mine really big. So I just have to change the setting on my machine to make them bigger than smaller. Bigger rather than smaller. So then I'm just going to sew it. And you can see it come off the page. And so I have a really cool kind of decorative edge on this piece of paper. So I would just practice first. You can see it start to unravel a little bit. So if it unravels on you, just add some glue and it'll be fine. I like a little bit of a decorative edge too, so let's go ahead and do it for this one, this page. What you also might decide to do, which actually is probably a better idea, let me see where this is headed so I know. Let me start off by identifying where it's going to, where the page is going to sit at the end. Okay. So again, I don't have a little guide, but I can tell it's real close to this edge. So if I put my foot down, not my real foot, but my regular foot, my sewing machine foot, I can see there's like a little gap, and if I try to just maintain that gap, I'll be fine. So again, try the best you can to identify where it is. If you don't want to get that ravel like I just showed you before, start off with a stitch. So let me start off with a stitch. I'll do a back stitch, and now I can go into my zigzag. Go back into that straight stitch, and then I'm going to do the back stitch, and that should help it not to unravel like it did before, because we have these nice stitches in place. And there's the back, and you can weave out any of those strings that are just hanging out. So you can see even the edges look really nice. I thought it did a great job. Some of you guys are probably wanting to see the curve, so let's go ahead and do that. But let me just show you real quickly how pretty that is. Look at that, it's gorgeous. I like to leave the threads hang out. I just like to, but you don't have to. Alright, the last one we're going to do is a little curve. Let's just pick a day. There's not much going on towards the back here, so how about here? I bet a curve would look really pretty on that page. So again, I'm going to bind this. Okay. I'm going to start off with a straight stitch. I'm going to back stitch it by reversing. And then I'm going to change my stitch to the curve. And now I'm just going to follow this little guide here just to make sure my curve looks somewhat decent straight. Actually should have made these stitches a little bit bigger. I usually change the setting to make them bigger, but these are really super small. Let me change the setting in the middle of this so we can see the difference. Okay, and now I'll change it back to small so that you can see the difference. And now back to straight. And a back stitch. That's really cool. So you can see on this page that we had the really close stitches, and then I made them really far apart and it got wider, and then it started to come back together really tight. I love this. I think it's so pretty. And it'll be awesome. Here's the back of it. And again, if your thread gets tangled up, you can just cut it out or just slowly take your finger and just pull it out. Just be careful. If it gets stuck, like this one seems to be stuck, I'll just trim it. But you want to be careful. If you do like this little small stitching, it's okay. I feel like it's just too tight here, and it feels like it's almost cutting the paper as opposed to actually sewing it. So I like the bigger stitches like this. So I don't think I would do the small stitches again, but I like how it turned out. Alright, I am back. I just wanted to show you the final result that we have here from our sewing, and that way you can just see it with it flat and close up as opposed to at an angle. So we've got the cover page, and we've got a couple of the bookmarks all sewn in for special days that I have. And then I have the edging as well on day 30, on 60, and on day 90. And then also I have it on the edge. So I'll just be having some fun playing in my very cool, very unique 100 Days of Less Hustle, More Jesus devotional journal. All right, have a great day. Goodbye.